Hey guys, welcome back to another layout update. I'm sorry it's been such a long time since I've done my last one. I finally got home from school, over from college, and I finally got some time to do something, so let's go ahead and get started. So first off, here we have my BNSF gen set number 1257, and so some of you may recall I got this back in the summer of last year, and I finally got around to installing a decoder for it. What I did is, instead of finding an 8-pin decoder, which apparently are going out of manufacturers aren't making them anymore, I decided to just forego trying to find an 8-pin decoder that was small enough to find this, and I did an entire board replacement. I took the board from my CN ST70i and I hardwired it into this, and instead of running all these separate functions like the ditch lights to a different function than the headlights, I wired it all up into one outlet on the front, and then the same thing for the rear. So they do operate independently from front and reverse, but when I turn the headlight and ditch lights on and off, they'd go at the same time, just due to the fact that the wires were too short to run to a separate function, and I didn't really feel like going through all the work to making them reach all the separate functions. But anyway, it's done. It's really nice, actually. It's probably one of the more quieter locomotives I have, and the only thing I really have left to do is replace the Atlas couplers. And the main reason why I don't like those, because they are in fact plastic, so there is a chance that they will break on possibly pulling something uphill. So also, when I'm switching, if I get in there with a decoupling stick, they can accidentally lock open, and I have to actually get in there and fix it and put it back together. It's not too big of a deal, but it's pretty simple to fix. But I do want to replace it because the KD couplers are metal and they are nicer. So let's go ahead and move on. So here are two locomotives. I finally got a decoder in there, and to finally keep them in there, I got the BC Rail 4651, that's a -9, and Sioux Line 6057, which is a SD60. They were fitted originally with Digitrax DH123 AT decoders, but over the Christmas break I ended up taking those out and fitting them to the Sioux Line MP15 AC and the Virginian SD70 ACE. And I did that just to see how they ran, and I ended up synchronizing the Sioux Line to the Canadian Pacific MP15, and those ended up running together, so I didn't really feel like taking them apart. And the one downside to the Sioux Line is that I couldn't operate the beacon light, but I've now got two decoders for those, and I'll get to those in a little bit. So these locomotives, they haven't had really any programming to get them running better. The only thing I've really changed them is the address from obviously 1515 and 1069. So I'll get those all programmed up and start running them. I'm going to start trying to find a locomotive as a benchmark, so all the locomotives start doing the same thing as that specific one. And right now I'm just trying to decide between the BNSF SD70 ACE and the BNSF ES44 AC, and I'm thinking it's going to have to be the ES44 AC, just because the motor control isn't as good with Tsunami decoders as it is with some of the other manufacturers. But anyway, that's not for a little while, and let's go on and move on to the next thing. So here is my CN ST70i, and I haven't done too much work to this, just primarily because I took the decoder out of it and put it into the gen set. I'm probably going to fit this with a Tsunami sound decoder that's more specific for a ST70i, and I finally got some 30 gauge magnet wire. I'll just grab it here. Got some 30 gauge magnet wire, and as well as just a 28 gauge and 26 gauge magnet wire. I picked that up at the source for pretty cheap. I think it was like $10 or something, excuse me. And instead of using the standard lights that Athearn gives you, I'm going to use these Details West. Let's see if I can get that to focus there. Yeah, I'm going to use these Details West ditch lights on the front and rear of the locomotive. I guess Athearn wasn't really aiming for 100% prototype when they built these, unlike what they're doing now. It's not a big deal. Might try to do another one in the future. Like I said, it's going to be fitted with all LED lighting, so I don't have to worry about replacing the bulbs on this unit. But apart from that, that's about it for the CN unit. Let's move on to a project I've been working on for quite a while now. Alright, so here is my Athearn GB40-2, and I've actually been able to do a little bit of work to this. What I've done mainly is I've replaced the turbo blower housing on the side of the locomotive, slowly sanding away at the grills at the top of the blower housing, as well as I gotta start working on the one on the other side. It's slowly starting to come together. I've still got to figure out what I'm going to do for here. I'm probably just going to buy a detail part for that, obviously, and I still got to do the same thing to the other side, obviously, as well as fit the third radiator fan there, and hopefully that will look pretty good when it's done. And apart from all that, all I have to do is replace the battery box doors on both sides of the locomotive, and I have those parts, and I just gotta Dremel away at them just so they fit flush, and that'll look really good when it's done. I do have to re-glue the horn that came loose, but that's not a big deal. And as well as I just gotta add this little bit of safety tread on the other side, and I'm contemplating the possibility of adding see-through steps on the locomotive. But apart from that, for the frame, I'm probably going to replace the motor with a helix humper motor, just so when I fit it with the Tsunami sound decoder, it will actually work pretty well, so that way I'm not having to adjust a ton of CVs to get this thing to work properly. But that won't be for a little while, maybe before the end of summer, maybe not, but we shall see. And a quick modeler's tip for you guys. I use Hester's cement for plastic kind of glue, as well as the metal and wood version. And what I do, instead of putting a little dab on my back, I actually use pop caps, and they actually work pretty good. They don't eat away at it like they do with all the usual plastics, so I find these actually work pretty well. And if you accidentally leave a little bit in there, it's not the end of the world. It just dries up and it comes out looking something like this. So let's go ahead and move on to the 3 cabs I've been working on, and then we'll get around to some structures I've been working on. Alright, so here are the 3 cabs I've been working on. The 2 for the BC Rail -9, and the one on the far left is for the GP9RM. I've made some good headway on the 4-window cab. I think I finally got the red down for the top of the BC Rail. I still gotta get the safety striping on the front, and then I can add the rest of the grab irons, and I've added the 5 grab irons, 2 on the tip of the nose, 2 above the cab, and the 1 above the number board. And it's actually coming up pretty nicely, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. Here's the BC Rail teardrop cab, and unfortunately I got the blue way too dark, so I'm going to try lightening it up with some white paint and mixing them together, and hopefully that'll be ready to go on the locomotive. And I've only really done some primer on the GP9RM cab, and as soon as I finish up these 2 cabs, I will get started on the GP9RM cab. So anyway, that's the progress on that. Let me know what you guys think, and let's move on to the one structure on my layout I've done some work to. Alright, so this is just the top of the grain tower that I finally got around to doing some work to. The only work I've really had to finish doing is adding in that top, sorry, there we go, this top structure here, and all I really have left to do is add the windows, and as soon as I've done that, all I'll have to do then is give it a coat in a dull coat so I can add the decals, and I can call that complete. It's actually coming together really nicely. It actually went together pretty fast. I knew I got lazy towards the end and I didn't finish the top of the structure, but it's pretty much done, and it actually turned out really great. And there's one other thing I wanted to show you guys in the layout, so I'm just going to rotate the camera and show you guys, and we'll take a look at that. And unfortunately the layout right here is really messy, so let's go ahead and move over here. So in this area, this was actually pretty problematic with some of my freight cars. The turnout wouldn't exactly stay in the aligned position I had it in, so it was constantly derailing, and instead of going up to the right, instead of it going up to the right, it would just go straight, and it was getting really annoying. So the other day I went up to my hobby shop and I purchased this Caboose Industries ground throw. It's a 220. I'll zoom out here. It's a 220S decoder. Sorry, not decoder. Ground throw. And this one's more designed for switching the polarity when the ground throw is pulled. But the main challenge I had with this was because where it's positioned, I didn't have the little tab on the side of the rail, this little guy, where that usually hooks into, so I had to run a piece of wire to the center of the turnout, and now it actually works really well. It lines itself up perfectly and almost snaps into place like the Picos do. So I'm going to fit the other 3 turnouts with them now that I like the way that came out. Obviously I'm going to size down the amount of cork I used in the area. The main reason I made that one so far back is because of large rail cars that tend to overhang when you go over tight radiuses like the auto racks. So that's why that's so far back, and yeah, it actually greatly improved the layout, and I can't wait to the other 3. And apart from that, all my other switches snap into place. They're all Picos except one Walthers, but I can't see any foreseeable problems with that because it's basically worked flawless since the day I got it. So that's pretty much it for this layout update, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for a rail fanning video I have coming up soon. I went to Loken with awesome rail fan, so definitely check that out in the next couple days. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned.